And now, join us as we investigate the unknown with author and exorcist Scott Hensler, the real demon detective.
All right, well, thank you for joining. This is the first show of many, hopefully. You know me as the Grumpy Old Exorcist on my regular podcast, but now we're doing a whole new series that has to do with demon detective work, otherwise trying to understand and locate issues within your life, within your family, within your health, and even your spiritual walk as to the reason the things are going wrong, which is a curse, which is sin, open doors, and the demons, or I call them the ground pounders, that come into your life and do these things. So with that, as I move forward, I just simply want to point out that within my studio here that I am a very active ham radio operator. I hold an amateur class license that is one that gives me the ability to talk and communicate to people around the world, to other states, and even locally. And so the equipment that you see isn't just for studio, but it is for emergency communications. I'm located in eastern Sierra Nevada. I have been doing deliverances or exorcisms for 25 years now. I started out in 2008, but really didn't get going till 2012, and that's a whole nother story in itself. But I was able to open up doors in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, to the public to have people come to my office, and I pray for them and cast out their demons and do whatever it takes to get them back on their feet and back into their walk with Christ. And it's about it's going to be 8 years ago, I think it is, I moved here to Nevada. And so I've been just privately doing those things over the phone and doing my podcast from that point. Now, I am an author. Second Heaven Invasion, Hoodoo Voodoo, and BPD and Jezebel. They're on Amazon. I'll have links for all that. And I want to point out that I am not a pastor. I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. What I deal with as a child of the Most High God, bought with the price of the blood of Jesus Christ, with the authority in me, I stand against the wiles of the enemy. And as I do this, my goal is to educate you, to help you through this, to better, so that you better understand what's going on with you. But with today's world, what's going on is so distressful, is so heartbreaking, that it tears on all of us, including myself. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk through all this together. So my point again, my goal is to get you to an understanding that you know who you are in Christ, that these things will not affect you to where that you just throw in the towel, because unfortunately many people have done that. So pointing out how the spirit realm is affecting your emotions, your physical, your spiritual, your family relationships, your marriages, these things. You know, we're dealing with demonized individuals. We were just discussing about the clot shots here a little bit ago, how the self-assembly nanotechnology has affected the hybrids that are within people, the mind control linking to 5G. These things are a whole different realm compared to the spirit realm, but demons are opportunists, and this is their opportunity to utilize these tools against you. So the more that we know about it, the more that we can stand. And of course, there are those who are fully possessed. They're cursed. They're never going to return. They're the damned. They're the ones that would be thrown in the lake of fire. If you're just demonized, there's a chance of being reclaimed, being brought back into Christ. But unfortunately, in these late days, the door is going to be closed for a lot. So the leaders of this world have put us into a situation that we really have no choice. We have to fight. We have to stand. They want us dead. They've already killed millions of us through the clot shots. And so whenever you have an extinction of a population, that when you have people that are involved with the murder of millions, there is a a demonic connection that empowers them with wealth, power of the world, the ability to perform sorcery and witchcraft and divination, just mind control, and then along with the technologies. But as we go through this and understand this, then we'll know what to pray against. That is the key to this whole thing. Now, I'm going to encourage you to email me, demondetective@mail.com, not Gmail, but mail.com. And so as I do this show, if you have questions, I can answer them. And then I will also have many guests, as I will have on tonight. And with this, as we stand together against evil, we're going to be able to take back what the enemy has stolen. Now, if you've been in the New Age and witchcraft and sorcery and divination, these are all abominations. My saying that I've said for a long time is Jesus plus nothing. And with that, you're able to distinguish from what is the Holy Spirit and what is divination. Divination is power that comes from the spirit realm that enables you to do things that are very powerful, that are incredible, that are supernatural, but they do not come from God. And suffer not a witch to live. To live is what the Old Testament tells us. And so if you've been involved with this, because of what Jesus did on the cross, you can repent, you can renounce, you confess, you can ask for forgiveness and be forgiven and brought back in, regardless of what you've done. So with that, as I move forward in this, please join me each week. Now, tonight I have a guest on, Jill. I have worked with her over the years. Let me bring her on here. And so, Jill, you are on, and thank you for showing tonight. We had a little bit of trouble getting on air, but that's to be expected. Now, Jill, I've worked with you for a couple of years now. You kind of want to just talk about yourself, get a basis for us to know who you are and what was going on that you called me, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay. I was raised in the church, and, I grew up as a Christian, and then I just got a little sidetracked and into some of the New Age stuff. And before I knew it, I was in there pretty deep. And when I went to turn to get out of it, I had a real problem, like a real problem on my hands. And I think I heard you. I'm trying to think when I first heard you, like on the radio, maybe with like John Pounders, or like you had done a program with them.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what, Now You See TV or something like that. And then I was like, oh, I want to listen to his podcast. So then I clicked in, and I could relate to a lot of the things that you were saying in your podcast. And I was like, yes. That's exactly what it's like. And then cut to the pandemic and being isolated. All I had was podcasts, and I had my Bible, and I think once you're in it, kind of with some things that you really need to pray with Christians, a Christian who knows what they're doing, to help you get out of it. I was just kind of stuck, and I think it was probably when you came back on the radio in 2022, like you said something that I think I was kind of blaming myself. I'm like, I've tried to do all these things. I've tried to pray. I have my Bible. I'm reading my Bible, but I can't break free. I just felt extreme oppression. And you kind of put it that I had, like even if it feels like that, like I have worth, And I was like, oh, I was so glad that you said that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it meant a lot to me, like, to hear that, because I was like, okay, no, I do have worth in Jesus Christ. Like, I didn't do it wrong, And then you offered to pray with people, and I got on the list and prayed with you, and that started the ball rolling.
Well, I know that, let me interject real quickly. You were talking about worth. That is one of the goals of the enemy, is to steal your joy, to steal who you are in Christ, for you to think that you're no longer loved, that God has abandoned you, or that you've done something so terrible that God could never love you, or the people of this world could never accept you. And this, of course, is the lie of the enemy. And fortunately, there was some intervention that you didn't go too far, because you actually talked about potentially even ending your life. Suicide is an option for those who have nothing more, but that is a lie. And so by understanding who you are and that you have worth and that God does love you, then you're able to hold your head up and say, hey, I am a child of the Most High God. How dare you, demonic world, treat me this way, and that I am here for a reason, especially today, that you're here for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. After the pandemic and with all the isolation, and then I also have estrangement from my family. I just was sitting there going, now what? What do I even do, to get out of this? And that meant a lot. And you said that you came back on the radio, you'd taken a break for a little while.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is perfect timing, because it's exactly what I needed to hear right then. I needed to hear something like that maybe the enemy used the situation to make me feel like that. And so that started me wanting to get back up.
Now, as a young girl, a child, what was your family like?
I grew up in a Christian home. We went to church. My grandfather was a minister. I felt like I believed in God. My safest place was my church, when I was a kid, because it was, I was part of the choir, and the kids were nice, that were part of our church. But it definitely changed at some point, once our pastor left and some things happened, and all of a sudden it wasn't a safe place anymore. And that's kind of, so our church had a lot going on, and they opened up the youth group to anybody. So pretty soon all the kids from junior high that would tease me were now coming to my, youth group, and making it really unsafe and really uncomfortable. And then we got a youth group leader that I feel I wouldn't have been able to put words to it as a young woman, because I didn't know anything about it. But, he was hanging out with some of the boys in the group. And I was like, something's not right with that, And I stopped going to church because of it. Yeah,
it's so typical that you had a safe place. This was something that actually fed you and that you felt safe and secure. And, of course, the enemy comes in. He can't have that. And then he alters and changes it.
Yeah. And I remember just being like, well, I guess, it's funny because I was at we had a camp before we joined church, and only a few of the kids that were at this camp were going to join our church. The rest of them were other kids from my junior high. And they told the story of Mark 5 around the campfire, like a scary story, like a ghost story. And I can remember sitting there going, oh, wow, I hope that doesn't happen to me, and being pretty terrified. And and what's ironic about all of it is it did end up kind of happening to me, so we were having, it wasn't a real youth group. It wasn't we weren't really, there was no support there, because obviously the youth group leader was corrupted. And from there, I didn't want to, I was told my mother, I'll go to confirmation, but I'm not going back to church. And that's what led me on a path going the wrong direction. And, my family probably has some generational stuff in it. So as I've, gone through all this, I've looked at, my dad's side of the family is into the Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's side of the family like goes back to the UK, and there's a lot of, I have other cousins that have had trouble as well, so it's not just me. Um, you know, where my cousin has had similar experiences, and so maybe there was like generational demons like on the family. Um, I definitely know it got worse when my grandmother passed away. So it's also like
Okay.
you've talked about like
Transferences. Mm-hmm.
demon transference. So things got a lot worse when she passed away for me. Like it got more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I thought, oh, I just maybe I'm a psychic. Like maybe I can talk to dead people, that kind of thing. And in reality, it's just demons like all over me.
Right.
Using me. So
were they coming to you in your sleep? Were you hearing voices? What was the?
Yeah, I had like demons bother me when I sleep. I definitely was hearing voices.
Okay. Were they? I forget. Were they inappropriate? Were they sexual demons or just?
Yeah, I had that. I had that happen.
Okay.
I also had the demons would say what they're going to do to me, like we're going to hurt your neck, and then I would be really terrified. I'd be like, oh my gosh, like some physical harm, where I would wake up and I'd be like, how did this even happen? Like to my body.
Yeah.
Enough where, there was a point where I was staying at my mom's house and I just pushed the dresser in front of the door. And I told my mom, like, don't come in this room. Because I didn't know that it was demonic. I wasn't sure what was happening, but I was just making sure no one could come in my room at night.
What did your mother think of that?
Oh, yeah. They thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, stark raving mad. I said, listen, I put a knife in the top drawer, and there's one under my bed, so if you come in, I will gut you. That's how scared I was,
Yeah.
Because something was happening to me, but who do you talk to about it?
That's right.
What are you supposed to say? Like, I feel like I'm being raped when I'm sleeping at night. Like, someone's coming in my room, that type of thing.
Now, had you been molested before?
When I was a kid, yes.
Okay.
So, this was all, when all this really culminated was around 2013.
Okay.
So I had gone to a shaman. I'd been seeing a shaman for a while. I was playing with tarot cards. Like, I was part of like a school that was called the Yeshua Tree School of Healing, and it was a friend of my aunt, like, who ran the school, so I felt like I could trust her, and she kind of glommed on to me, like, and it was pulling me in the wrong direction for sure. Like, I wasn't getting healing, I was only getting more crazy, like, or what would seem like I was crazy to my family for sure. And there was a moment where they said, oh, we're going to do whatever, an exorcism. And they got my mom to pay for it. And they charged my mom's card like $900.
Ouch.
And it was, yeah. And there was 2 shamans on the phone, and they kept me on the phone. So it was someone in California and someone in the Netherlands. And that really was when, like, I was like, all right, I'm done with everything. Because whatever they did, like, made me worse. Like, they didn't give me any healing. It seemed like BS, but I knew something had happened bad because they were like, oh, we need a picture of you and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And that created the estrangement with my family because then my mom was angry with my aunt that she got me involved in something like that, and from there, like, it was just all downhill, like really bad,
Right.
like
Now,
really bad.
did this also involve astral travel?
Yes,
Okay.
I ended up being able to like astral project, um, and strangely enough, I was just really interested or worried when people went missing, and so someone, one of my friends, like fellow students, went missing, and I just knew he was in the lake. You know what I mean? I knew he was. My friend goes, "Where is he?" And I go, "He's in the lake." And but I couldn't rest. I couldn't even function the week before they found him. But when they did find him, like I was there. Like
Yeah.
that's what was, and it was one of those things where you don't want it to happen. Like I was 25 miles away in my basement, so for me to hear the helicopters of them finding him, and my friend's like, "How'd you know that?" I was standing down there. There really was helicopters.
Yeah.
But you know, all this is really crazy because my my family was like, "We're just done with you, so just go away," you know. And I had no one to turn to. Like I knew I needed deliverance or something like that. I knew it was something bad, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And it was years,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like before I got even a little bit of relief.
When did you?
I went to my church and they didn't want to talk to me about it.
Oh, yeah. I want to really get into that. When did you
Okay.
venture into Reiki?
I maybe took the class when I was like 26 or 27. So I was a massage therapist, and they just kind of, you could take those classes for continuing education.
Was there a
So,
decrease
yeah.
in your spiritual abilities, or did things get worse? What happened after you got involved with Reiki?
It didn't seem like anything to me, but if you would have asked my boss, he would be like, when I wanted to leave work, he's like, "Well, I got to find somebody else that does Reiki," right? So to him, it seemed like I had healing powers or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I didn't really feel like I did anything big. It's really kind of hokey, like the class. Like I mean, it does seem hokey. They're like, "Now I'm going to put symbols on your aura," you know? And you're paying it, and they give you some little, some little certificate and whatever. You know, it doesn't seem like anything at all.
Yeah.
It's just some hand positions or whatever. But the reality of it is, it's something, because someone's putting something on your aura.
Right.
You know,
You're opening doors.
And
Right.
you're opening doors.
Now, what about
And,
what about your health after this, though? Did you become sick? What happened after the spirits finally started turning on you? Because that's really what they do.
Yeah, like once I burned everything, so I just freaked out and I burned everything. And I took everything that was, like the shaman, the lady had given me something to wear around my neck. I took that off. I highly suspect that was a very, demonized object.
Yes.
And like as soon as I did that, then it was like just attacks, and it was like car accidents, and like I tore my shoulder, and I was in pain all the time, and I never experienced that kind of pain before.
Yeah. Financial loss.
And just financial loss.
Right.
Like estrangement from my family. My dog died. You name it. It was just like one thing after another. Like just isolated by myself. And then, like I was explaining, I went to my church like for some counseling, and they weren't helpful at all. They didn't know what to do at all. Like they weren't supportive. They weren't. I highly suspect the man thought I was in stark raving mad,
Yeah.
like actually crazy.
Yeah. Now you did
He didn't believe a
choose.
word I said.
You did choose to come back to Christianity, and you talked about being baptized. Where did that come into play? After talking to these
Okay,
people,
so
or
no, like it was just sitting alone. I kept, so it was about 10 years ago, right about this time of year. I was just in an apartment by myself. My family wouldn't see me. I heard something on the radio where they said, "Oh, well, if you call someone you know really is a Christian, like you can talk to them." So I did call the only person I know that I thought really was a Christian. It was like an aunt of mine, and I talked to her, and I mean, I could tell she was just like, you know, she felt sorry for me, but like she's not as strong of a Christian as I thought. So the things I was bringing up, she was like not gonna,
yeah, right,
listen to. And then I just found a podcast from Russ Dizdar, and I was listening to it, and he was praying on it, and whatever it was, like I could feel something break off, and I had some clarity, and I'm like, whatever that is, like whoever that person is, like they do know God, like they know how to pray, and prayer does work, and God is real, because it was a really powerful experience. It kind of restored me to like some sanity, like where I had some perspective that this wasn't me, like at some point it felt like it was me, like because I was so oppressed, and then from there I just kept seeking, so I kept pursuing God, even though I didn't have a lot of evidence, like, to say that God was working in my life. God was working in my life. It just, part of me was thinking, oh, if I just get some prayer and then I talk to these people, it's all going to be okay. And that's not how it works at all. Because I was very confused, because I'd gotten off path of what, what life even is, or like, reading my Bible, like understanding, getting all the false teaching out. Because, I'd seen like a psychic for years, and they just tell you all kinds of stuff, like you have past lives or this or that. I had to like throw all of it out. Like when I got some prayers, some of whatever the powers that I had went away, and that made things much different, like how I perceived things too. So I was like, oh wow, and I'm flying blind here, So some of the generational stuff that got prayed off, or that broke off, like that left me in a place where I was like, it's not that I wanted it back. I was just like, oh wow, that wasn't me at all. That I didn't have any powers.
right.
That kind of thing.
Well,
so then I was just like, who am I?
I was going to ask that when you were baptized, was this the same pastors that didn't understand, or
no? I eventually, my cousin, like I talked to my cousin, so then like, again, this story is like all over the place, but so that was like 2016. I decided, yes, I want to be, I want to be a Christian. And I tried to, like, it's so stupid, but I just got in my car and I drove to like Akron, Ohio, and I was like, I'll just go to every church and I'll find Russ and I'll talk to him. But wasn't going to be what happened, Like, that was a crazy idea. And I couldn't really understand the website, how to figure out how to meet up with people at conferences or anything like that. I didn't know who to get a hold of. I just knew that I needed deliverance. And I just kept, kind of listening to some stuff. And I eventually called a cousin of mine, like, who I knew was a Christian, and I asked him to pray with me, and it would have been like 2017. So like another period of time went by, and my cousin said, yeah, I can pray with you. Like, did he want to talk about any of this stuff? No. Even though he said he's had experiences with it, he didn't want to be helpful. Yeah, he just invited me over, and he said, my, wife's cousin, or my wife's, brother-in-law is a minister. He can baptize you. And so they just, baptized me in a hot tub with like the whole family standing around. But it didn't feel. It just was. I don't know. I don't think he really could even believe what I was telling him. Like, he took me in some little room and was talking to me, you know, the questions they ask or whatever.
Well, when you went to churches, though, what was their actions? How did they behave when you started telling them about the spiritual problems?
Oh, it's fun. I don't know. I'm kind of with you, like, where I'm pretty leery to like step in a church because it's like it just has been not a good experience like where I live now. Like I've maybe they would listen to me, but what they were doing, or like some people here in town were like saying that they knew what they were doing, like with deliverance, and they didn't at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they exploited me.
Yeah,
And it was really painful where I was just like, whoa, I'm not sure like I ever want to talk to anybody about this ever again.
I found a lot of deliverance supposedly pastors or people who do this actually infect the individual more with demons because they still have New Age in them, or they worship a different Jesus, and it's a disaster. I've worked with many people that went supposedly to deliverance ministries and just became more infected, and it's really a shame, and it's a frightening thing for many people because then you give up. You don't know who to go to, and you're scared to go to anyone at that point. But you didn't give up. You contacted me a couple of years ago, and I thought you were in Northern California at the time, but you said you were where you are now. But can you kind of go through how that went with us?
Yeah, like I think you came back on the radio, and then at one point you said, yeah, I'll take some phone calls if you want to send an email and get on the list. And I'm like, oh, that's so great. You know what I mean? I desperately need prayer, you know, and so I called you and we prayed, and we've talked a few times, so we've gone through layers of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like some of the most powerful thing is when we made a list of things, and I prayed off the Reiki, and I could feel like ropes coming off my arms, you know, like being set free. And I was like, whoa, you know. And each time I've been more clear afterwards so that I could keep, have perseverance to go forward.
Right.
Yeah, because it's not like getting cleaned up isn't like a pretty process or like easy to do. Stuff comes up. But when you've offered to do it, I've been like, yes, I want to be on the list. And it's been perfect timing.
Yeah, and
I'm so glad you were there.
And that's one of the reasons I had you on, because I've seen the progression with you, that you believe more in yourself. Now, of course, getting to this point with the world the way that it is, and the people that you work with, and even family members, have you found that there's been different oppositions? And what I mean is that once you hear the truth, and once you understand that demons are real and they're a problem, and you have this knowledge, people treat you differently whether you talk about it or not. Have you found that?
Yeah. Definitely. But I have more strength now, like, and enough to be able to like kind of go within and just and see it for what it is, you know what I mean? And it doesn't make it less painful, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's a shame to see people
piggyback off someone, or
yeah.
But my discernment's getting better, like of knowing, oh wow, like I should steer clear of these people. I'm not getting
Yeah.
it hurt. Like, I can tell you, like, there's been some stuff that's happened. I can't even believe that churches were involved in it. Like,
Yeah.
I went to 3 churches in my area that was just extremely painful and abusive, like real abuse. Like one lady said she did deliverance and she was doing counseling, and I just can't even tell you. She did not know what she's doing. And she's no longer with us. She died. But it's amazing that I like actually called you after the experiences that I had that weren't good. I was like, no, I'm not going to give up. I know there's the real thing out there. I know someone really is doing it. That I know that it would be possible. Like that. This is just getting in the way. I went to another church that was a Spanish-speaking church, and I think they were just outright demonizing people. Like,
Yeah.
again, like I couldn't speak the language. It seemed like, what they were doing, but now that I think about what was happening to people, like, of course God wouldn't do that to someone. Someone wouldn't be in, like, a stupor after getting prayer,
Yeah. Well,
Or,
Catholicism and Santeria is very prevalent amongst those churches, and it's
yeah.
unfortunate. So,
Like, I saw people, they couldn't even function
Yeah.
after getting prayer from the pastor, like, just
yeah.
sitting on the floor, like, drooling and stuff, and I was like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I left that. I was like, no, this is bad. So there's all kinds of stuff like that.
Did you see any weird healing where the pastor or minister would reach into somebody and pull out a tumor? And did you ever see anything like that in these certain?
No, but I've heard people speak about it, like at one of the churches, saying that they were doing stuff like that.
Right.
And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like they're talking about, like, just to come to the church and get a lot of money from everyone too.
Yeah.
And that's I had a huge problem with people, because I was like, listen, like, what in the world is that? You know what I mean? They're saying that that people are running down the aisle and, like, their stitches are breaking out from their surgery, and there are all kinds of crazy stories about healings and flying around places, like, around the world,
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't good. This isn't real.
Yeah. Right. Well, when you have that type
you say
of
something
power,
like that, and then these people are like, how dare you say that about them?
the method that I was talking about is referred to as blue witchcraft. Has to do with shamanism, has to do with Santeria. And this is what has come into our country across the borders. And it's a very serious issue, because as these people come across, they're bringing their demons with them. And so the area that you're at, have you seen an increase of crime or just a degrade in your area? Because you live in a very beautiful area.
Well, yeah, but it's like people are on upset, you know what I mean, for sure. So there's a lot of people are, protesting, a lot of people are separated.
A lot of division, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of division. Like I don't feel like I can talk about Jesus at all, like with a lot of the people I work with, it feels really strange,
I forget, is your mother alive still?
No, my mom passed away.
Okay.
Like 8 years ago.
Okay.
So, both my parents are gone. Yeah, I ended up just completely alone, because I questioned my family about Freemasonry, and they just blocked my calls. And then my other family is into the occult, like into, occult practices, and I just can't have anything to do with them.
Yeah, it's a shame. You love them from a distance, and that's all you can really do. And maybe they'll wake up. Not likely, but in case they do, you'll be there to bring them through that. So what about your own mental health right now, your own physical health? I know that You had a cat that was killed here a couple days ago. That must have
Yeah,
been very trying on you
actually,
to lose a pet.
it was. Like,
But
my cat was killed. A tree landed on my car, like in
yeah,
a storm. I
yeah,
mean, it didn't destroy it, but it was just like, really, like why did it fall that way? I mean, it could have fallen any way. Why did it have to fall on my car?
yeah. I had.
And yeah, so go ahead.
I was saying that I had a gentleman that I was working for in Phoenix. I was doing his ministry work, and after I was done with setting him up on podcast and getting his studio ready for recording and all the work that I did, I had somebody that was supposed to show up for deliverance, and they were trying to parallel park in behind me, and something grabbed a hold of their foot and shoved their foot onto the gas and hit my car and actually pushed it up over the sidewalk and onto the grass. And the poor lady, she was bringing her grandmother for deliverance. When I came out and saw my car, of course I was upset, but I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. And she said, "Sir, I am so sorry. I have a perfect driving record. I have absolutely no idea what happened. It was as if something grabbed my foot and pushed it on the gas until your car was up over on the grass, you know." And so it was with your car being damaged like this. Whenever you make advancements, the enemy will do this to you. But don't lose heart. Don't lose faith
Yeah,
on
in
this.
a few weeks before, the car got hit in a parking lot, and the woman that hit me was like, "I don't even know how that happened. Like, I have a rear view camera and everything, right?" And I said, "You know what? Don't even worry about it." And she ended up, her dad was like a minister. And she goes, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah. I mean, like, I really just don't care anymore." So, like, then the car get hit again. And I'm like, well, whatever. For whatever reason, I really love that car. But it's just getting hammered, and it's okay. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
it's, we're not supposed to put anything before God.
yeah.
So
Well, God bless you
it's
for your
damaged in
attitude.
that. Yeah. I mean, I, there's things that really want to get me down, and I have to keep my strength and keep going, because I don't have any family. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just me and Jesus. I have to figure out, what God wants me to do and actually survive. So when you're asking me how my health is, it's like, it's been so difficult, like, getting back up, like, from all of it, and even from COVID and all that stuff, because COVID is one of the reasons why my family, my brother and I, are estranged, because he, went ahead and took the shots and, followed all the rules, and we stopped really even being able to talk, like, during that time, and we've never come back together.
yeah.
So it was very noticeable. Even when I think about it now, I'm like, gosh, that was so difficult I'm sure for everyone.
But you also said today that you were dealing with somebody that was really nasty to you, and I asked if they had taken the vax, and you said that they had taken all of the vaxes. And
Yeah, so,
so
like, both, I hadn't even thought about, like, the
yeah,
problems that I'm having with some people is that reason. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It didn't even occur to me, but then that comes back in, and you go, oh, that's right.
right,
Because I prayed with my neighbor, and they didn't take the vax, and they went around trying to, like, save people, like, giving them, what was the stuff? Hydrochloroquine and
yes.
um,
One of
yeah,
them, yes. Uh-huh.
yeah. But they had somehow had some, and, like, people were, like, got better, right?
Wow.
So there's been they somehow got a stash of it and went around, like, helping people. So there's, like, a very different, there's different, I don't know, it seems like we've gone in different directions, and there's no coming back together,
Yeah. Yeah, people are changing. Their personalities are changing, And the other thing that I'm concerned about is, since that the self-assembly nanotechnology interacts with Bluetooth frequencies, that with the cell towers and 5G and the satellites, what are we going to be dealing with when we see that there's a massive release of technology on these people for them to do things that they would not normally do? And the other point is that with them losing sight, even if they believed in God at one point, that will rob them of that, and they'll lose that connection. Now, it doesn't mean they'll lose their soul. This is a very hard subject, but it means they're no longer going to be part of the kingdom here. You know, there's things to do on this earth that Jesus died for us to do, such as the Great Commission, and they're not going to be a part of it, and that's really sad. But what if you could say anything to the people that are listening, that have heard your story? What would you finish off with when it comes to making sure that you're walking with God?
Oh wow, that's a deep question. Like like if you get knocked down, like I think I've heard someone say that you know how strong your faith is for how long it takes you to get back up, and so get back up even if it is really, you know, looks terrible. Like the whole situation looks hopeless, because God can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe he waits to answer some prayers, and some prayers get answered more quickly. And I think what's most important is like to have a strong prayer life. And even when it doesn't seem like something's happening.
Yeah.
Because I've prayed and prayed and prayed, and little prayers along the way, like where, like for instance, like where you were saying, hey, I'm going to do some deliverance, like get your name on a list. I mean, that was a prayer answered for me. Like I was just praying. I was just like, after dealing with some of those churches, I was like, no, I'm going to pray to God, that someone could pray with me and help me. And it is, and God does answer our prayers, according to his will. And it takes perseverance though. And like I've found strength in myself that I didn't know I had.
Right.
Well,
yeah. again, when you discover you have worth, that in itself allows God, because then you feel the Father's love. That's one of the problems I think that women lack, and that maybe their earthly father didn't love them or didn't show the love, and so they don't know what a father's love feels like, and it's really a shame. But you've come to a point where you have your worth, you know who you are, you know there is a God, and you know that Christ gave us the power to stand against the enemy, and that alone is, well, it's one of the reasons that you're targeted, is because you do know. But because you do know, you know what's going on, that you don't take it personally. Like Jesus says, do not be offended. And so
right.
So you've come to a point where you just let this stuff roll off your back, and that is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on and being my first guest on this. There's a lot of information that I think people can relate to. And that's the whole key. The whole point of this show is to let people know that you're not alone. There are other people that have either been through it or they're going through it. And that if you know who you are, and this is what you need to fight for, because this is what the enemy does. When I say the enemy, I'm talking about demons. Demons come in and they lie to you and they deceive you, and they whisper things, or they befriend you and take you off in another direction. But their goal is to confuse you to a point that you're unable to deal with the things of this world, And when that happens, then you give up. And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of suicides. Real quickly, before we go, we did mention that you felt that way. What was the deciding factor that made you think that that was the way to go, and why did you not do that?
Well, it's happened a couple times. The first time was when all that craziness was happening, when I turned away from like all the occult stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, like, I didn't know that what someone would have me do is burn all of it and get rid of all of it, right? But I just did it. And then there was just like this feeling where I was just like, I was like, nah, I just don't even want to deal with this world anymore. Like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that I just happened to be, like, I happened to have presence of mind. Like, something kind of got me up. Like, I did eat a bunch of pills, but then something motivated me to be like, no. And I threw them all up. And then I was like, whoa, that almost just happened, And it wasn't something I wanted to do. I knew something was wrong, and like, other times, like, coming out of like the pandemic and being abandoned by my family and stuff like that, and kind of being trapped like where I'm at, I was like, I don't even know if I can keep fighting. Like, I just don't know, especially after those bad experiences with churches. I was just like, I don't even know. I mean, like,
yeah.
Like, I thought there was something, like God was real and that there's something, but now it's, so many things happened that made it seem like maybe not, But, I was able to get prayer, and that feeling hasn't come back. I feel like it's a demon of suicide, Again,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's
could be really deadly.
Absolutely. Well, there's demons of murder, there's demons of destruction, there's demons of suicide, demons of self-hatred. They work like a 1-2 punch in a boxing match. And the point is that when you break curses, when you close doors, when you repent of sin, when you confess your sins and get to a point where it breaks the legal right of the demons, you'll no longer experience these things. And the other is that the people that we surround ourselves with, if you're still, if you're in the workforce and you're out there trying to make a dollar, you're going to be working with people that is sent to you. There are sometimes people that are nothing more than a destructive person in lives, whether it's an NPC or regardless. So be very careful who that you become friends with, and be very careful of the intimate things that you would tell them, because a lot of us have found out when we opened up and talked to people that it's used as ammunition back against us later.
Yeah,
So,
definitely that's happened to me.
Yes.
That's happened to me, where I was just like, oh, wow, and then just get mocked or whatever, and it doesn't feel good. But it's interesting, when you're bringing up the suicide thing, just think about it. If that, like, this was 2013, like, I wasn't saved, like, when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't have known, wouldn't know Jesus, like,
Yeah.
wouldn't have been going to a good place.
Yeah.
So I do believe it's real.
Absolutely.
That those things are out there.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming on. I will talk to you later, and I'll be looking forward to when I do deliverance again that I'm able to pray over you one more time. So.
Okay. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Good night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with me, that I'm able to bring this information to you. Jill is a jewel. She has really persevered and made some great progress over the years, and I'm very thankful that she's been on. Now, as I close out here, I have a list, some requests for questions and answers by some people, and let's see how much time do I got. I'll do about 15 minutes worth here, and so this information that I'm going to give you is based on my experiences of the demonic realm, the deliverances that I've done over the years, and the curses that I've broken off of people to see how their lives have changed, and the other thing too is I'm probably going to have some people in the occult, New Agers, witches, even listen to this show, and as I give this information, I want those people to know that I'm basing it from the authority and the power of Jesus Christ. I'm not basing it on what some fallen angel has said. I'm not basing this on whatever divination or sorcery or witchcraft that you've conjured up and that you think something different. When I do deliverance, when I stand in the authority of Christ, again, I know who I am, and I don't just believe. I know that I know that I know, and it's because I know. Then with it, then there is no question, because at any point in time, if you question yourself, if you question what you're doing, and that's one of the things the demons try and do, is that they will bring in somebody to whisper something to you. Oh, you're no good. You don't know what you're talking about. This is not going to work. You know, whatever the lie is, it's to steal your faith from you, to keep you from moving forward with the confidence that your constitution of who you are is in place, that they're trying to tear it down. So as I go through these, and I'm just bringing all this up because this is my opinion. This is what I've seen. This is what I've experienced, and this is what I believe. So the question that I'm starting out here is that it's about black cats. Now, I'm a cat lover. I have 2 cats, 3 cats actually. I have a stray that we take care of. But when it comes to black cats, when it comes to the idea that a color of a cat has something to do with the spiritualism, that it makes it a bad animal. There's been a lot of talk about owls. We know that God created all things. Now, there are corruptions, there are chimeras, there are hybrids, there are what we would call reptilians or greys and aliens and whatever. But the point of it is that God's creatures He created. And so it's only through the practice of witchcraft or through divination. Remember, divination means those powers being used other than the Holy Spirit that creates this illusion or this hex, vex, or spell that can cause an animal to behave. Now, any animal can have a demon come into them. Humans can have demons come into them. And because of this, then they can assume control of the individual, control of the animal, control of the cat, control of the horse, control of the dog. And some breeds of dogs are bred under that demonic premise of killing, and I'm not going to get into that too much, but the point of it is to say that it's a black cat and that's an omen, that's a problem, is false. But the witches, just as Halloween, if you have a black cats are missing, they're usually sacrificed. But to say that a black cat is in itself evil is not the case. I had a black cat many years ago that was one of my favorite cats. But here's what can happen. Cats are very their ability to climb, to scale, to go through tight places, to be somewhere that another animal or dog could never go, like up in a tree, or even up a tree onto a limb and jump through someone's window, means that it's an opportune time for a demon to enter into the cat. If the cat especially is a stray and is not under the covering of an owner, that's another thing, the reason we pray for our animals is to make sure that the spirits do not get into them, the unclean spirits. That a cat then has the mobility, the physical ability to go where other animals can't. And so I have seen cats that in and themselves, of course they're not evil, but they have unclean spirits in them. And a lot of things too, if you have let's say a cat or a dog, and the owner is there, that they themselves have a lot of demons of anger and rage, and they're just nasty people, the animal themselves, there'll be a transfer of spirits and it'll go on to that animal. And this is why you see some animals that who would normally, because of their breed, be nice, not be so nice. Or there's a point in time where they change and they alter and they snap and they bite, or they just become extremely mean. And cats can be the same way. I've seen videos, and you've seen them on TikTok and so forth, where all of a sudden a cat will go crazy and attack the owner. Well, there's an open door. There's a point in time where a spirit went into it. Now, if a coven or a witch or someone that is a sorcerer or just divinators in general who are cursing an individual, they may send spirits into a cat to go to you. Now, if you're in Christ and you've got your doors closed and you have no reason for demons to have a legal right to you, these animals cannot do anything of transfer. Now, doesn't mean you may not be attacked or bit, but you're not going to get a demon from you. You're not going to have something happen that would be a curse that would that would do something hazardous to you. I would be more concerned about other people. Now, since we have all power and authority over demons, that gives us the ability to bind or loose. But when it comes to humans, when it comes to people, we do not have that legal authority. And because we do not have that legal authority, we can't really tell people what to do. And people are just going to do what they're going to do. But if you have somebody who is demonized or have someone who's even possessed, that's a whole nother realm. This is where we stay in the Spirit, where we rely on the Holy Spirit to guide us and direct us into what we're supposed to do. And because we walk in the Spirit, there can be divine intervention when there was an assignment. Otherwise, that whether they send a cat, regardless whether it's black or not, and they call a demon into it, and they send the cat to you or the animal to you, that the assignment does not follow through. And one of the things that I do when I'm praying or I'm being attacked, especially if you're getting ringing in your ears, it means someone's cursing you, then I send them back to the sender. And I'll tell you, the people in the church will damn you for that. But I'm telling you right now, you're not trying to hurt anybody. You're just not going to accept the demon that was sent to you. You're just going to send it back. Send it back to the sender. And because that's being sent back, the demon that was sent to you is going to get beat up in the spirit realm. They're going to go back and they're going to say, they're going to come back to the individual that sent him and prayed him out, right? And they're going to attack that person. And one of the things about this is that then the people who are doing this may learn to not do witchcraft. That it is a dead-end road. That whenever you bring something against someone else, it comes back to you. What goes around comes around. And that is the premise of that particular reason for sending things back. So if you have open doors, you have generational curses that are active. If you have active sin in your life, then this is why things can happen. This is why if someone sends a curse to you, that it can land. And a lot of times, I'm not totally immune to being attacked. I've been attacked many times. When I was going through deliverance and I was learning about deliverance, and I still had some doors to close and some generational curses to break, there were times that I was attacked and that I felt that powerless, or I felt that it was useless, or I felt that, or I was mad at myself. That was really most of it. I was mad at myself for allowing that to happen. And there was a time where I went to meet with somebody to get to know them, and it turned out they were a witch, and they were a very powerful witch. And I went there with no covering, with not being prayed up, and I got hit really hard. I had a pounding heart. My heart was racing. I was losing breath. And I knew that I was in trouble. And I immediately broke off from the conversation and left. And they knew what they were doing. They knew they had brought something onto me. And I had to spend 2 weeks praying that off of me. And it was my own fault. And the reason was because I wasn't in prayer. I wasn't staying where I should be. And because of that, there was an open door where that fiery dart came in and got me. And I said, you know what? Never again am I going to allow a divinator, a sorcerer, or a witch to land a curse onto me to let it stick. And it was from that point forward that I made sure that my nose was clean, that my doors were closed, and that anything that may have been remnant that needed to be swept out, I did that. And because I did that, then I was able to come back into the deliverance, and I was able to open up my offices in Coeur d'Alene, and dealt with some very, very hard cases with people coming from all over the country, some from outside the country, to come in for me to pray for them. But if that's where you're at, and you're dealing with people that are cursing you, or that are, black cats are showing up, then you need to take an inventory. You need to assess what is it that gives them a right to do this. And that's really what it amounts to, is that there is still a legal right for the demons to harass you. So with that, as we go through generational curses, some people have generational curses from birth. Some meaning that maybe if you have a sibling, like if you're a male and you have a brother, that brother didn't get the curse, but you did. And it may be that if you are the first bloodline, the first male, let's say, within the family, and you've got Freemasonry, you've got Jesuits, you've got Rosicrucian, you've got practicing, witchcraft in the family, because you are the first male born, that curse may have landed on you. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to accept it, doesn't mean that you have to allow it to take hold. You can come to Christ and you can break that off, and you can break this off your family. You can renounce this stuff and put things right so that your children do not have to deal with this type of thing. And these demons and these curses, by the way, destroy families. And it's unfortunate if you have division within a family, that other family members may be clueless, that you try and talk to them because you've discovered this information. When I discovered deliverance, when I found out that yes, there really are demons and they want me dead, and that's what's been going on in my life, and I tried to bring it to family, when I tried to bring it to the people in the church, it was not received very well. And how unfortunate that is, because it means that they're still in bondage. It means that they're never going to fulfill what God have them to do, because they're never going to seek the deliverance that would set them free to bring them back into that total full relationship, giving them full power and authority over the wiles of the enemy, to not only set themselves free, but for others. Now, Other things too is that you can be somewhat of a sinner. You can maybe not follow Christ, or just be one that thinks that maybe, someday I'll get back into it. Well, there's always the one that breaks the straw that breaks the camel's back. That one more sin that takes a person over that threshold, putting them into another category where other demons can now come in, because now you've given them full legal right. So otherwise they've been dishing out things to you, and you've been accepted, and you've been behaving and living your life this way, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything goes bad. And it can also be that the curse in the generations was set for a certain age, maybe 23. You have people that become schizophrenic at a certain age. A lot of them, become schizophrenic not necessarily early in age. Some come in their teens, some come in their 20s and 30s and 40s, and I've seen it even happen in their 50s. Well, that means there was something that you did, whether it was pornography, whether it was drugs, whether regardless of whatever it is, it was that one more thing, that straw that broke the camel's back, and now all hell breaks loose. But it can still be resolved. Now, I want to finish out. There was a question about dispensation. Now, I've been a very strong opponent against dispensation, which is pre-trib, comes through Zionism, which is false doctrine. This is to cause Christians to stand down, to walk away from their first love, Jesus Christ, and to give their homage basically to the ones who call themselves Jews, which is the synagogue of Satan. This Israel that you see over there is not the Israel of the Bible. This is a counterfeit. And dispensation pre-trib is part of that doctrine. Now, I've talked about it in depth before about this, but I want you to know that I'll talk more about it. I'm not going to go too much into it. But if you're with pre-tribbers, if you're with people who are teaching dispensation, walk away from it. It is not going to bring you closer to Christ. If anything, it's going to confuse you in your relationship with God. That can only happen through Christ, because now you've split yourself. You now have another master, so to speak, and you know how that parable works out. So in this closing, we're going to be talking about UFOs. We're going to talk about different phenomena that take place. We're going to talk about the supernatural. We're going to talk about how the interaction of the spirit realm has caused us to be where we are today in our society, but also within your own family, and why things are the way that they are. So if you have questions, send me an email, demondetective@mail.com. And as I do these shows, I'll bring those subject matters up, and hopefully I can answer them for you. And with that, as I go through this series, hopefully there'll be more people that will join me, because once you understand who the enemy is, what the enemy is, that there really is a spirit realm, and that what Christ did for us, Jesus died on the cross so to break the curse of the garden, but as we go through this life, we're still fighting the enemy till his return. And we're here also to do the Great Commission. And if you're being beat up, if you're sick all the time, if you're having mental disorders, if you've got multiple personalities, if you have personality disorders in itself, then you're not going to fulfill what God had you to do, because it is no mistake that you are alive today. And because of that, you have a job to do. But together, we're going to go through this. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get you back on your feet. And from there, well, as you go to your prayer closet and find out that God, you can now hear from God, because a lot of people don't. They pray, they don't hear they don't get the answers. Well, demons are blocking them, or you have open sin or a generational curse that has blocked you. Maybe money's being stolen from you. And so the wealth and the finances that would keep you in a position of strength to be able to do God's work then can be released. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that have been called. They want to fulfill, but they can't because they don't know what's wrong, and the church is not there to help you, unfortunately. So with that, God bless you, and I will see you. And of course, I will continue to do my shows, Grumpy Old Exorcist, on Fridays. This show I'll try to post on Wednesdays. And again, I'll have more guests. And thank you for joining me. God bless.